The stock market sold off on concerns about tariffs. The Dow was down 256 points, down 0.61%. The S&P was down 0.67%, down 39 points. The NASDAQ was down 1%. The Russell was down 0.28%. And the VIX was up just under 10%, 9.91%, to close at 22.29. Okay, the stock market is selling off on concerns about tariffs again. Trump is saying that Apple will pay a 25% tariff on iPhones not made in the United States. Concerns about that, and then also concerns about more tariffs here on the EU. Negotiations have stalled with the EU. Trump is doing exactly what I told you he would do. Again, when everybody was saying at the bottom that this massive trade war and the tariffs are here to stay and the stock market's going to crash and the recession is here and we're going to have a Black Monday crash. Kramer was running around saying that. Everybody was repeating it. We were going to bottom with the tariffs. We did. Saying you're going to have a Black Monday crash, the opposite's going to happen. And I predicted this rally that we've now had. Told you back then that Trump was going to pause the tariffs or reduce them or both. I knew that because he did that with Canada, Mexico. He did that back in 2018. He paused the tariffs the day of the launch, April 9th. We had the bottom 2 days before on the supposed Black Monday crash day, and that's the day we bottomed, which I told you was going to happen. Told you back on the 9th, and that week there that we had the launch of the tariffs on the 9th, and that whole week, Trump paused the tariffs as I correctly predicted was going to happen. He reduced it down to a 10% rate. I told you he can pause or reduce them or both. Pausing the reciprocal tariffs and bringing on a flat rate of 10%. Correct. At that time, he raised the tariffs on China. And again, we were told at that time, oh, China, it's a trade war with China. They're never coming to the negotiating table. I ended up being right about that, too. Everybody told me I'd be wrong. I ended up being right. China is now negotiating. There's been a 90-day pause. Reduction of 115% of the tariffs on China, and China reduced their retaliatory tariffs by 115%. Exactly what I predicted would happen. Back at that time, back on the 9th and that week of the 9th, Trump paused the tariffs on the 9th, on the day of the launch. Here's the tariffs on China, I told you. He's making an example of China. China is retaliating and unwilling to negotiate and all this other stuff, and Trump's doing exactly what I told you he would do. I told you back then, on the 9th, this is a negotiating tactic because all he has to do is, okay, pause the tariffs, the reciprocal tariffs on the countries, and if a country comes and they don't want to negotiate in good faith and be reasonable, what he's got to do is raise the tariffs back up, wake them up. Gee, that's exactly what's happening now. European Union, talks have stalled. Trump's doing exactly what I said when countries wouldn't negotiate in good faith. He's jacking the tariffs back up to wake them up. So they've got a choice. They can come to the negotiating table and try to negotiate a deal in good faith, a fair deal, or they get stuck with the tariffs and move all that much closer to recession all that much quicker. I've continued to be correct on everything I've said about these tariffs. Now we're being told today, trade wars, the next leg down to the bear market by the bears and media out with their doom and gloom, depression predictions. It's absolutely incredible. Eventually, the European Union is going to come back to the negotiating table. Eventually, the United States and the EU will have a deal. Get a choice. They can have these 50% tariffs and go into recession, or they can come to the negotiating table and try to be fair. The whole media's narrative that Trump's putting on all these tariffs. We're going to have this massive trade war, and we're going into a depression. If he wanted tariffs, he wouldn't negotiate. He's put on the tariffs because Europe, like the EU and other countries, countries in Asia, they have extremely high tariffs. And so he's putting these tariffs on, try to get them to remove their tariffs to open up markets to the United States. He's trying to unlock markets. I agree with Trump's tariffs. I don't like Trump's tariffs. but I understand why he's doing it. The goal is to try to remove tariffs, try to create free trade. I understand what he's doing. Something I can't stand even worse than Trump's tariffs, and that's Europe's tariffs, because they're much higher and much worse than Trump's tariffs. So it may just take the EU a little while to get used to the idea of free trade, but it is coming. Until now, it's been rules for thee and not for me. It's not. That's not gonna last much longer. Those days are over. So we'll see if this creates a bigger sell-off for the stock market or still get the extended wave 3 scenario. Please support the channel with the link directly below that allows me to be able to provide you this information. If you like the charts, you like the indicators, please take a moment to support the channel. Follow the link below to take you to a secured site. You can donate any amount you want or make it a recurring donation. If you do that, I thank you. If you could take a moment to partner with me, I would really, really appreciate it. I don't have sponsors, just a direct relationship with you. Sponsors, I turn those offers down because I don't want to sell you a bunch of stuff that you don't need. So just take a moment and follow the link below. And if you could do what you can to help out, I would deeply appreciate that. The market will be closed on Monday for Memorial Day. That spike in volatility with the VIX went up to the 50-period moving average here. It stalled. It turned down. It didn't close at the highs of the session, and it moved off. It still closed under 10% higher, but it was much, much higher at the highs of the session. In order for volatility to return on the S&P, you got to get back above the 50-period moving average. We don't have that at this time. Is this just a pullback, larger extended wave 3, or are we starting minor wave 2 and we end up getting a bigger pullback? Jury is still out on that. Enough evidence to say that the rally is completely over yet. The hollow red candlestick at the 200-period moving average. We got stochastic rising. MACD's got a bullish cross. Eyes turning up, and it's just under 50 right there. So again, we'll see if we have the volatility continue on into next week. Some signals did turn bearish on Friday. Most of the trend signals are still bullish. Now, I told you we had a bearish inside day 4 sessions ago. By the way, Monday is a holiday, Memorial Day. The market will be closed. We have a short trading week next week. We got this bearish inside day. I talked about it at the time, and it got confirmed the very next day. It got confirmed, but we didn't get the follow through. On Thursday, we got a doji instead. We now have the follow through closing below this low right here of the confirmation candlestick. Now, again, even with the confirmation and the follow through, still might just be a minor pullback in the larger extended wave 3 scenario. It's still possible. Losing the 200 here, the 100, you see the pink line, that's the 100, the 200 is a black line. You start losing the 20-period moving average, then we could get a bigger sell-off down to the 50, down to the cloud here, down to the 400-period moving average. The question now, is this just a minor pullback or is it evolve into something bigger? We did get a hollow red candlestick here with the sell-off. That could mark a bottom. We got a hollow red candlestick back at the bottom. Oftentimes they do. It doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes you get black candlesticks mark tops. Other times it doesn't mark a top. Other times you get black candlesticks like over here and over here. This hollow red candlestick marked a bottom. About it that very day at the bottom. That was the day we were supposed to have the Black Monday crash. Predicted the rally, the bottom and the rally back up to the 200, and I told you we might overthrow the 200. We did in 2007. We did in 2000. Overall topping process. We've done that. Now we're coming back to test it. We're at gap support right here, so we'll be watching. We're just beyond it. I didn't draw that very straight, but just beyond gap support there. And we ended up finding support at the 200-period moving average. So we'll see if we can attempt to rebound. I've told you because, again, the pullback might just be short term, and we end up seeing a divergence develop on the RSI and on the awesome oscillator. I told you we might pull back, and then we might come back up here or go a little bit lower and come back up here and end up going to a new high and end up forming a divergence where the RSI gets a lower high before we get a bigger pullback. That's certainly possible. This could be it if minor wave 1 is done, but I think the jury is still out on that. This pullback could just be part of an extended first wave here, our minor wave 1. Broke the trend line with the rising wedge, but we're still here at the cloud, still here at the 200 period moving average. Trend lines do change. We'll be watching if we attempt a recovery. We're right at the momentum cloud here. The MACD hasn't rolled over yet. It could next week if we get a bigger sell-off, but if we can attempt a recovery here, it might just be that we get a more mild pullback and continue the advance. Let me show you the wave counts. And here is the scenario that minor wave 1 is done, and we have this 5-leg push higher that we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and it's done, and we're now getting minor wave 2. That means we get a bigger pullback to the 50, a bigger pullback to the cloud, and a Fibonacci retracement, a bigger Fibonacci retracement. Still have the possibility of a inverse head and shoulders, but down with this low over here, and you have this neckline that is rising, sloping higher, and you have a right shoulder, a head formation, and you get this right shoulder here. Maybe it's unbalanced, or maybe it's not so deep, but you get it, and then you go on your way, and that is minor wave 1 followed by minor wave 2. Minor wave 2, it's probably going to be a bigger pullback towards the 50, towards the cloud, if we're going to get it right here and right now. But we have a hollow red candlestick at our 200 period moving average. So this count says, okay, we've had a correction in an ABC move over here for wave 3 to 4. We're now getting our first minor wave of intermediate wave 5. Intermediate wave 4 completed back over here. This is our first wave, and our second wave is now under construction. Again, on social media, the bears are telling us we've now begun the next leg down of the bear market. They've got a problem. You didn't get 5 waves over here. They needed 5 waves. They didn't get it. You got a 3-wave correction. This is clearly corrective. I believe we're going to new highs. That's why, again, I told you this rally was going to happen. The bears told us it wasn't going to happen. Down here, we're bottoming, and we're going to get a massive rally back up. That was correct. The pullback's going to happen. The question is, has a bigger pullback now started? I think the jury is still out on that. This count right here shows minor wave 1 is done. We're in minor wave 2. Now this is my extended wave 3 bullish interpretation. This count shows that we've completed the ABC move, and we're getting an extended wave 3, that we have wave 1 and 2 done, and we're now getting this extended wave 3 where we have 1, and these are the smaller micro waves here, 1, 2, 3, now 4. Then maybe we get 5, a pullback for subwave 4, or maybe this is it. Maybe this is maybe the 3 completed here and the 4 is right here. Certainly possible. But if this is an extended wave 3, it's possible we just have pullback, keep going, and we get this extended wave 3 completing. We get a pullback for 4, and then we go on our way to 5. That could take us to a new high. If 3 is done here, 4 is done here, then we get 4 completing, and we go up and get 5, and then we get a bigger pullback. Either one of those scenarios is possible. You got to remember, Bitcoin has now made a new high. Bitcoin's bottom the same day as the S&P. I predicted it was going to go up. Massive rally, about the 105,000, 101 to 5,000 area of 100,000. We got that rally, revised my target, and said Bitcoin's going to make new highs. Those are still bullish on Bitcoin. Eventually going to pull back. If it does, maybe the market pulls back right here and now. See, my Bitcoin signals turn bearish. We're not there yet. I move to a new high. The S&P and the NASDAQ could eventually follow, going to a new high either right here, right now, or a lower high here, a bigger pullback, or come up here, get a lower high, not make a new high, but get a lower high just below the February peak on February 19th, and then pull back. One of those scenarios is possible. I'll be watching. Do we get a bigger pullback? Again, we've had a almost 23.5% move since, again, we correctly pointed out that we were going to bottom with the tariffs. A massive rally that's happened. I believe, actually, we're going to go to make new highs. We could do it right here if we have this extended wave 3 scenario. So I'll be watching to see all of this unfolds. But right now, we're back at the 200. Again, the 50's curling back up. Eventually, the 50's going to get back above the 200. Bitcoin just had the bullish golden cross. Likely going to pull back. Bitcoin's up from when my signals called the very day of the bottom. Bitcoin's up 50%. Signals are still bullish. See my latest Bitcoin video. I'll link it at the end of this one if you're interested. Do we have the wave one done here, or does it come and finish at higher levels, either with a lower high below February, just below February, or a higher high? And I pointed out you have this potential neckline for a larger inverse head and shoulders, where we have this December peak, the low between the December peak and the January peak, then the February peak over here being this right shoulder. Do we end up pushing up and getting a right shoulder? Again, it could be a slanted, the neckline slanting higher here, or it could be horizontal. So again, we still might get a lower high, but that's the extended wave 3 scenario. Watching if we get the bigger pullback right here or now, or not. Hollow candlestick, if we can recover, then we'll see what happens. You still might get this divergence, as I keep saying, on the RSI. You might get it on the awesome oscillator before all is said and done. Bitcoin is setting up the divergences on the RSI and the awesome oscillator, and the S&P and the NASDAQ might follow suit. It could peak and start coming down, and the S&P and the NASDAQ could still try to play catch up. Follow Bitcoin down, now they're following Bitcoin back up. You want to know what the market's going to do? Watch Bitcoin. Bitcoin's making a new high. Bearish told us that wasn't going to happen. Bearish said no way. And again, the experts in the stock market and the herd on social media said it was over at the bottom. I told you it was not, that we were bottoming and we're going to get this rally back up. And I'm telling you, we're going to go make new highs. Bitcoin's already done it. Those are the two scenarios I think that are in play. Now, over the weekend, if the United States and the European Union patch it up at some point next week, then maybe we just get a smaller pullback, but it could give us a bigger pullback right now. Now, this scenario right here is the scenario that minor wave 1 is done. It may not be. Ray is still out on that, but we have price on the S&P below the 50 period moving average. It's curling over and starting to roll over. Our 200 here, if we get a bigger sell-off right now, we can pull back to that or towards, again, that 50 period moving average in the cloud on the daily chart that I've been talking about. If we bottom here, again, we can have that extended wave 3, or maybe this is just the sub-wave 4, but I still think that count is still possible. If the MACD firms up going into next week, rebound back up, this rally could, or the sell-off could end. Divergences, I told you about that, back up the top over here. Now we're still at gap support. We have gaps down here, and even at lower levels, these gaps are not going to be filled until a later date. But here's the inverse head and shoulders. If we have this neckline that's sloping higher, this is an extended wave 3, and we resume the advance, you might have that larger inverse head and shoulders in play. Same is true for the NASDAQ. Now, the NASDAQ 100 is down just under 1% today, down 197 points. Again, possible minor wave 1 being done. We have this rising wedge. Again, same thing here. We're coming back below the 50 period, the low green line right here. We broke the accelerated trend line. Still have this trend line coming into play a little bit lower. And we have our cloud, but the cloud into the future is turning red. We get this bigger pullback now. Here's the 200 down here. You get that extended wave 3 scenario. You have the same thing for the NASDAQ. Again, this whole thing could just be an extended wave 3, and we have a wave 1 and a 2. The whole thing is just a massive extended wave 3. It can be counted a couple of different ways. It's speculation. It's not some fake fortune teller with a crystal ball. It's about validating or invalidating counts, and so we'll be watching. Predicted that we would start minor wave 1. We have maybe done, but I think the jury is still out on that. So here's a 60-minute chart. And recover, get back above the cloud. Then again, that extended wave 3 scenario then comes it very much in play. And a long weekend with Memorial Day weekend. We'll see what happens going into our short trading week next week. I told you we were at this trend line with our linear or our log scaling, our linear scaling. We got above it. we're at this trend line right here, and I talked about stalling around that area, and I talked about a gap, exhaustion gap there with last week's high, and again, that very well could be the case. Here it is up close on the NASDAQ. Again, possible exhaustion gap if we getting a bigger pullback to come back and fill that gap and get a bigger retracement. Certainly possible, but don't rule out the extended wave 3 scenario. Still may form a divergence on the RSI in the daily time frame and on the awesome oscillator. P weekly has the same thing going on. 2.61% for the week. Again, we had that rally the previous week. Gave it back now, holding above the 20-week moving average, but we had these gaps, so we'll be watching. If we do get minor wave 2 right now on NASDAQ and S&P, like I said, I believe that we're going to get a 5-leg push higher. Bears are saying right now, oh, here's the next leg down of the bear market. Get a bigger pullback right now. I do believe that it will be a higher low. Now, the NASDAQ also got a hollow red candlestick. We're below the 10-period moving average, though. Still have a potential rising wedge. The 200 is down here. The S&P is at the 200 and the 100 period moving average. NASDAQ is still above it. NASDAQ's still above the gap support right here. And again, S&P is just right at it. So we'll see what happens. We don't have the bearish crossover of the MACD here. Let me move this over. I made it real big so you can see it nice and close up. But we don't have the MACD crossover. It might be we turn back up. Again, the NASDAQ and the S&P might follow Bitcoin and go try to make new highs, or at least go test the highs if we have an extended wave 3 scenario. It's certainly possible. It's just be a minor pullback, like this first initial pullback right here, or right here with the EP announcement. We couldn't even close negative. We rebounded back up, or right here. Could this just be a pullback? We've had a pretty powerful move up. It's risen 30% from the lows here in a very short amount of time. So just above gap support here. If I zoom out here just a little bit so you can see this a little better, again, we still have the possibility of a divergence. And again, we could come down lower and then turn back up, and you've got a candlestick. Maybe we turn back up with that. But if it's more of a mild pullback, you could still get these divergences on the RSIs and on the awesome oscillators. And you can even see it happen on the histograms here. Divergence on the stochastics breaking 80, but again, it can remain overbought for an extended period of time. It could end up recycling back up if we just get more of a mild pullback like the pullback we previously had. Now, we did get momentum flipping on Friday with the S&P 500. You see the little arrow, you see the little red bar. We've closed below the cloud. But is it going to be short-lived? Like over here, we had some red going on, but we bounced off the 20 period, and we ended up going and making a new high, and the rally continued for a little bit longer. Do we see something like that? Is this a shorter-term move, or is it something bigger, give us a larger retracement? Again, do not rule out the possibility that divergences are under construction. Take the market higher. Again, the awesome oscillator has turned red. It's still in positive territory. The MACD hasn't rolled over yet. Even if it does, bounce off the 20-period moving average again, the little blue line right there, or the 200, or come back a little bit further and don't end up getting a larger retracement. It very well could be. We have it right now, but these divergences could still form, as we saw the divergences form, and they're now leading on Bitcoin. That's true for the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ got a bearish reversal of conditions. Did that right here briefly, lasted a day or two, and then we flipped right back a couple days, or actually 3 days, went and we made a new high. Did we see something like that here? The rally wasn't done yet. Tried to flip it a couple of days, flipped right back to red. The sell-off wasn't done yet. You see what I'm saying? This is just looking at short-term momentum, but we still may end up forming a divergence here on the awesome oscillator. Or again, if we get a bigger extended wave 3 going up into the highs, as I've talked about, trying to push up into this trend line right here, if we see that happen or go to horizontal resistance, which is the February 19th peak, then again end up forming a divergence before all is said and done. Bitcoin is doing that now. It's popped to new highs. Eventually the market is going to pop to new highs. But momentum turning down for now, so the risk is we get the bigger sell-off now. It could be a Fibonacci retracement or back to the 50 period or back to the clouds I've been showing you on those daily charts. Rule out the extended wave 3 scenario that is still very much in play. Now we're seeing momentum with the bearish reversal of conditions. Momentum turned back to bearish. We're going to get a bigger sell-off right now. We should see the trend signals begin to all turn back to bearish. We're going to get a larger pullback right now for a Fibonacci retracement. Here we're still hanging in there. We'll see if the advance tries to resume or not, or do we get the bigger sell-off going into next week. And then on Friday, we did get momentum line turning back to bearish. Now, this could also be short-lived. Topping signals here, it could just be a short-term top. It could give us something bigger. Again, the jury's still out because still may get a divergence on the RSI, the awesome oscillator, and even here with momentum. There still could be a divergence that sets up. It was a bullish divergence that gave us the bottom. And you got all these bottoming signals. Momentum eventually turned back to bullish, and then the trend signals turned back to bullish. Trend signals are still bullish. If they start turning bearish, we'll get a bigger sell-off. We're getting a gray shaded area that's telling us that a move, a squeeze move is eventually coming, but it could take time. Over here, it took some time, and then we still ended up going a little higher, even though we got bearish signals. So again, we could just have this being a short-term pullback still. Hollow ray candlesticks, we'll be watching to see what happens as we go into next week. Does it start getting a bigger sell-off? If we get a bigger sell-off, again, I think it's minor wave 2. We end up getting that. Some topping signals here. Again, this is just momentum. Oftentimes these signals can mark major tops and bottoms. I think this is a major bottom right here. I think that this will only a pullback, whether that's the wave 2 or whether smaller pullback and we're still in that minor wave 1 in the extended wave 3 scenario. Here we're taking out the cloud and the bar is turning red. Bounce, that could be canceled out, but right now there's risk of a bigger sell-off. Risk of a bigger sell-off because momentum signals are turning bearish now. So they could flip the trend signals, still bullish at this time. Now here on Friday, we did get a sell signal right here. Got one up here back at the top in February, and it gave us this. And then got another one here, and it gave us this. But here, got a bullish one. It didn't last very long. Only a counter trend. Is that what this is? Is this a counter trend to the downside? We resume the advance? Or does this give us a bigger sell-off? The bars are still green, but we are getting a sell signal here. I'll be watching if other trending signals turn bearish, but momentum has turned bearish. Here, this short-term trend here has turned bearish. Here, momentum is starting to turn, but the trend is still bullish at this time. Here, getting a red bar. Other things are still hanging in there, still green. If we start to recover, you still got a shot of a divergence developing on signals. So, wave 3 scenario is still in play. I know that it plays out, but it's still in play. Something like what we had over here, where we got a red bar, but then we still, got a couple of them, still ended up going to a new high. Ended shortly after that, but do we resume the advance? Start getting the background turning red, start losing these levels and having these signals turn red, then the risk is we get a bigger sell-off, start seeing the oscillator go negative, but you could still form these divergences. Same thing here, momentum trying to shift a little bit. You can see a little red in there. It's trying to shift, but the trend signals are still bullish. The bars are still green, so we'll see what happens. Tops, we saw the sell signals up here. We saw more volatility. We don't have that yet, so we'll be watching. Do the trend signals start to turn bearish as we go into next week? Most of them are still bullish.